be working from this resource. I also want to let you know that the recording from today's webinar will be in this resource, usually within 24 hours. So I'll also send you an email letting you know, hey, this is where it is, but it will appear at the top of this, embedded in this resource. Okay. So what we want to be able to help you do after today is we want to be able to, if you just joined us, also the resource, Jason just popped it in the chat. We want to be able to help you to do a few things. We want you to be able to use Cloverleaf and to help you actually detect or reveal some hidden friction points right across teams using the Cloverleaf features. And we want you to also be able to help leaders understand maybe how different communication and decision-making styles might actually show up when there's pressure happening. We know that change, right, usually will reveal some of those pressure points. And how do we actually adjust without adding training overhead, right? So we want to be able to use you have access to Cloverleaf. You can actually use it without having to send everybody off to trainings and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And how can we guide those teams to use sort of some easy ways to use Cloverleaf to actually help us during some of these transitions? We're going to be using Discover, and also we're going to be using the feedback features. And you want to use these features to help people in these times of change and transition. So this is important for you to know if you're a talent leader, you're a coach, or you're an org admin. So the way I'm going to be teaching today is that you're going to be teaching other people how to use these features and having them use them for themselves. Okay. So this is almost like a train the trainer situation. You want to inspire and empower other people to use these Cloverleaf features for themselves as they may come to you. Oh gosh, my team is experiencing a response to this change. Or if you want to be really proactive, you could be using some of what I'm about to teach you before a team or an organization embarks on change. So if you're an external practitioner, you kind of know, maybe you're dealing with a team that's going through change. If you're internal, maybe you know you're about to embark on change, or maybe you're in the midst of change. Maybe your team is going through a reorg. Maybe your team's just learning a new system. Maybe there's, a project you're working on that's about, that's going through some kind of shift or change. Maybe your team makeup is just going through change. Maybe there's a leadership change. Maybe there's, just two people have left your team. Now you have two new people and the dynamic has changed. There could be so many different things that can cause change. So before we get started, I said this in the beginning, but some of you may want to log into Cloverleaf. You may want to, if you're going through change right now, you may want to sort of work alongside with me if that's how you learn. It's up to you. So you may want to choose a real transition that you're supporting. You may want to set or refresh a coaching focus, and you may want to also open the Discover tab. This is up to you. You don't have to do it. It's just an option. Okay. So here's what I'm going to be giving you a little bit of a playbook here. Now, if you have questions as we go along, I want you to just pop them in the chat. Jason can also answer some. I will look and, also help answer them for you. I'm going to be going back and forth between I shared the wrong thing. Hold on. I'm going to share the right tab. I'm going to share my Google Chrome. Let's see. Oh, nope. I'm sharing the wrong Google Chrome here. Let me share this Google Chrome. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to be going back and forth between here and also Cloverleaf. Okay. So if you just joined us and you don't have the resource, just let us know in the chat and we'll get it to you. But this is what we're operating with. It's also in your reminder email that came right before, or it's also, if you just registered just now, it's in your confirmation email. I put the link in there too. Okay. So we're giving you some tips, right? So if those of you have not been using the new coaching focus, or you haven't explained to people, hey, have you set up your coaching focus, right? You want to make sure that, especially during change, right? This is about the stability without the overhead, right? We don't have to bring in some giant training about handling change, right? You want to use this when a team is preparing for change, Or maybe you're sensing that leaders are overwhelmed. Maybe you're the leader and you're overwhelmed. Or maybe you're a talent leader or coach and you're sensing, okay, leaders might be overwhelmed by this change, or change is already happening. Leaders are overwhelmed. Or you need behavior change just to be more sticky. Or maybe you're dealing with a team or you're part of a team that seems to need more reinforcement. They need more reminders, right? They're not like something's not registering. Okay. This is the language. Now, you don't have to use this as a script, but this is the essence of what you want to communicate. Okay. If you have Cloverleaf and you're not using all the benefits of Cloverleaf, and I've used this analogy before, it's kind of like going to your financial advisor and saying, oh, no, I just want to put all my money in the cash account. I don't want to do any investments. I don't want my money to grow. I just want to just put it in a little cash account, right? You've got to use the benefits of Cloverleaf. So one of the benefits is the coaching focus. So if you're the talent leader, if you're the team leader, you're the coach, I want to encourage you to pick a strategic coaching focus for the next several weeks. Let's say the change is already happening and we know the change is going to keep going for the next 6 weeks. Or let's say the change is about to happen and we know the change is going to go on for the next 8 weeks. Okay. This is going to keep your daily coaching aligned to what you actually need during this transition. So what do I mean by this? So if we want to do this, we've got to go to our daily coaching, our coaching focus. So we go to our coaching focus right here, coaching focus. Okay. So if I need to add a coaching focus, right? Maybe it's for myself. Maybe it's for my team. I need support working through a team change. Maybe you're the leader. Maybe meanwhile, you're helping people do this, right? I need support working through a team change and supporting my team to stay motivated through that change for the next 6 weeks. So I'm going to now create the coaching focus. So what you're telling Cloverleaf is that I want you, when you send me my coaching tips, to help me with that. So it's going to ask me some questions. Which of the best describes the change your team is navigating right now? Is it a reorg? Did a team member leave? It's a major shift in project priorities or direction, or a leadership process change is coming from above. I'm going to say it's this. If that's what I'm dealing with, that's what it is. Or you can type something else. Maybe none of those things applied. You can type something else. Now, remember, you might be encouraging someone to do this, or maybe you're doing it for yourself. What reactions are you seeing from your team that concern you? Now, let's say the change hasn't happened, but you know your team, or you know this team, right? Maybe you ask the leader, hey, what are you concerned about? Well, people get anxious during change. They get frustrated. That's what happens, right? You can choose more than one thing. People are unsure. They don't know what they have to do. They get nervous. What does that mean for my role? Over the next 6 weeks, what would meaningful progress look like for you? Well, it would help me if people stayed focused. And also, I want to feel confident about my communication. That's what I want to make sure that I'm able to help people stay motivated. Okay. That's the support I need. So basically, what I'm telling Cloverleaf is these are the issues that I need support with. And I want my coaching tips to be focused on that. So what you're doing, if you're the talent leader, if you're the coach, right? Also, if you're the manager and you want to make sure your team is supported, they can also set these kinds of coaching focuses. Like, hey, I'm going through change and I want to make sure that I don't let stress overtake me. I want to stay focused, right? So depending on people's roles, they can set a different coaching focus that's going to give them these bite-sized coaching insights on a daily basis, okay? And it's going to help them, okay? So it's loading the coaching nudges for 6 weeks. Okay, it's telling you what success looks like. I communicate clear, stable messages about the change 2 to 3 times per week. And my team asks 50% fewer clarifying questions about roles and next steps. Okay, so it also knows who my team is. So it's going to give me tips about my team around these challenges. Okay. So when I look at, let me go back to the resource here, right? So I set that up right here, okay? So you can, again, you're just looking at setting that up, okay? So I've set that up now, okay? So now I know that my daily coaching is going to be focused and helping me as a leader, or if I'm a talent leader, I'm helping that leader do that. I'm helping that leader. Maybe I can say, now, leader, go have your team set those coaching focuses up. If you're the talent leader or the coach, you can now encourage the manager to go do that for their team as well. Okay. Any questions just about coaching focus, right? You want to help people as they're going through change, right? To be reminded, maybe the leader needs to understand or surface what each individual, how they respond to change, right? Any questions just about that? Right. So now I'm populating all the nudges. I can make changes to this. I can change when I want it delivered. But now I've got that set up for the next several weeks. Okay. I'm going to pop that onto Discover. So you want that to be the first step. You want the coaching focus to support the change support. So now you want to make sure that leaders, first of all, because remember you're helping teams, so you got to get the leader on board, that leaders are using Discover in the moment. Okay. So you want to make sure that leaders are sort of trained in this change moment coaching. Okay. So now you, as the talent leader, as the coach, right, you might say, what's an interaction or situation that actually keeps going sideways right now? And if you're a manager, you can ask this to yourself, right? So I know we have some managers here. If you're an individual contributor, you can ask this to yourself as well. What's actually going sideways right now, right? So maybe it's our weekly priorities meeting is all over the place because the change is now intercepting what we usually do. Maybe our rollout updates are, always sort of getting off track. Maybe our decision making is stalling because we feel that the changes that are happening organizationally are impacting how we make decisions. Our handoffs are breaking, or there's tension in our one-on-ones because I have, half my team is really resistant to change. And so I'm spending a lot of my time in one-on-ones, like calming people down, right? So you kind of have them choose, right? Do you want to focus on clarity? People don't know what matters. They don't know what changed. Do you want to focus on decision? No one knows who decides, timing, criteria of the change. Or how about coordination? We need to focus on handoffs, rework, or missed signals. So if you're working with a leader, or if you're working with yourself, right, focus what you want to focus on here. And then you want to actually go to Discover, right? So if you're the talent leader or the coach, you're actually having them work and discover themselves. So as a coach, when I work with, so whether you're internal, external doesn't even matter. You're supporting leaders, right? So when I work with my clients, I actually have them bring up their Discover. I want them to do it. Okay. So I'm like, bring up your Discover, right? You can show them these prompts right on the screen. You can use this resource. Part of why we do these resources for you, I want you to use them as, you could use them. You don't reinvent the wheel. You could just pull this up. You could say, hey, or you could copy and paste these right in a slide if you wanted to, right? Okay, let's look at these, right? If you were to look at these prompts, and if you have Discover up right now, you could actually test these out if you want to. I will test one out on the screen so you could see it. So let's say the people are, they're dealing with the coordination piece, right? And they just want to copy it. What's one weekly routine that might work for my team to keep execution aligned while priorities shift, right? So let's say that's what's happening, that's the glitch that's happening right now with this change, with this team. So they could pop it right in there, right? Now they've put this prompt in, right? If you want to create more prompts, you can. I gave you some so that you can just sort of kind of copy and paste, right? So when somebody puts this in to their Discover, it actually already knows who their team is. So when they click on apply this, it's kind of giving them already some suggestions. So you can kind of look at some of the feedback that it's giving you, but there's some suggested actions here, right? It's set a weekly 30-minute team session to walk through the current priorities, clarify what done looks like for each item. It talks about how in each meeting, name any shifts from last week, give teammates an opportunity, right, to ask what's changed or what needs attention. Also, close by having each person state their top focus for the week so that the commitments are visible and the group is really present, right, to alignment. So you've got this now on the screen, right? The person has it on their screen. And why you want it on their screen so that it's in their coaching history. They can go back to it. You want them to have it in their Cloverleaf, right? And so then you can say, look, as I see that you have sort of these, apply this, you kind of coach them. What is one message they'll send or say? What's a behavior they might model, right? And then you kind of set a check-in, right? So you kind of look at, well, tell me what feels realistic here, right? What do you think will work best with your team? So you can start coaching on some of these suggestions with the team. Now, if you're the manager, you can kind of look at some of these things and, do that work with yourself. But if you're the talent leader and you're supporting the team through change, you're supporting the leader to support the team through change, you have them do this work, right? And then you kind of then set a check-in. Okay, let's talk in 2 weeks after you've maybe implemented this and come back. Right. But again, you want them to do it in their own Cloverleaf because guess what? Now, when they go to view their coaching history, it's already there. The suggestions are there. Okay. And they have that already and they can take notes if they want and it'll save those notes. Okay. Any questions there and what I just shared with you? Any questions? Okay. All right. So now I'm going to come back here, right? So that's sort of like we're helping this piece is we're helping leaders sort of use Discover to target how to shift some approaches based upon what's happening in their team. Now, this is another little bit of an approach is the 15-minute norm reset micro session. So this is a way to stabilize teams during change and to use Cloverleaf to help you do that. So you rebuild one broken norm so that the team can kind of operate with a little bit more stability and consistency during any kind of change. Okay. So this is how you first rebuild it. Okay. So you talk with the leader, well, what norm is breaking right now? Right. Maybe it's updates, right? Maybe how we disseminate information. Maybe it's decisions, how we make decisions, how we escalate things to the top. Maybe our meeting cadence, right? When we're meeting, how we're running agendas, what belongs in a meeting, what belongs in, asynchronous communication. Maybe it's ownership, right? Owning tasks, what done looks like, what success looks like. Maybe it's something else. I don't know, but you kind of ask them what norm that was running smoothly before is not running smoothly now. Then you choose one norm to reset this week. So you support the person like, hey, we're not going to fix everything. So whether you're the talent leader, the coach, if you're the manager, you might be doing this for yourself. We can't fix everything. You got to pick one that will reduce friction the fastest. So you ask the person what is going to actually help you reduce friction the most, fastest. Okay. So the leader then says, okay, it's decisions. We have to make decisions better. Okay. So, okay, good. So pick the prompt you might want to use, right? Well, I want to create a lightweight decision framework for my team when information is incomplete. So, but I've got to make it customizable to my team. So they go back into Discover. And again, you want them doing this in their Cloverleaf because they've got to do it with their team. It's got to pick up their team. And you want them to have the reference in their Cloverleaf so they could go back to it. So again, you don't always have to ask a question. Remember, in Discover, you can just say a statement. Okay. So I want to create a lightweight decision framework for my team when information is incomplete. So this is actually giving me the framework. Okay. So it's telling me a little bit about my approach and my team's approach. Okay. But here's some actions. It's saying define a simple triggers for when to escalate decisions or ask for help. So with your team, it's saying define so your team knows when to act and when to pause. Document final choices briefly, even a shared note or summary after the fact to help them understand the reasoning behind decisions made with incomplete data. Pause each fast decision with a clear contingency or backup plan, which gives the team permission to move while reducing anxiety about getting it wrong, right? So this is actually giving you information about how to create that framework, okay? And so you can then work with the person and say, okay, what ideas is this giving you? What do you feel like makes sense? How could you present this? Like then they could take notes here on this information and save this framework, okay? And this will help reset the norm. We're going to reset how we make decisions, okay? Again, you don't want to do guesswork, right? Cloverleaf helps avoid guesswork because you're really getting into the tendencies, the work style, the motivation, the inclinations, the strengths, right? The behavior tendencies, again, the communication tendencies of your team. So we're not going to do guesswork. We're going to just go right to the heart of the matter and see how can we leverage maybe the preferences, right? And the strengths of our team dynamics to make this personalized, especially during change, okay? So after you've done that, you coach them. Okay, so what are you going to do right now, right? You're going to go and how will we check that it's working? Okay, and you have them bring it back to you, right? You have them bring it back to you so that they're going to go reset that norm, and you say, okay, let's check in a week and see how it's going, or 2 weeks, right? So again, this is what it's called to really get the return on the investment of Cloverleaf, right? There's so much gold in here. Go mining for the Cloverleaf gold. You got to go mining for it. Don't leave it in there. Don't leave the gold. Okay. So go in there and mine for it. There's so much solution, so much friction you could reduce by empowering yourself and your teams to be using the tool. Okay. So that's discover, right? Any questions? Any insights? What are you noticing from what I'm showing you? Pop it in the chat. What are you noticing from what I'm showing you? What are you noticing? What are you noticing from what I'm showing you here? And then any questions? Yes, teaching leaders how to use Cloverleaf on their own. Absolutely. You want to empower them to be using it on their own as much as possible. I mean, and change is a perfect opportunity for that. Especially when they're struggling and don't always have extra time. Believe me, I'm a trainer for a living, but training is not the answer to everything, right? So, you can use these moments, these small moments, to sort of support people and help them use what's in front of them. Any other insights or questions? All right. So feedback is, especially during change, feedback can act almost a little bit like a pulse survey, right? So you've heard of pulse surveys, right? It's to take the pulse of a group of people to help us understand what's happening, what's going on, what's the sentiment, right? We're trying to get the essence, the sentiment of what's happening. So the Cloverleaf feedback feature really supports people getting quick, right, specific actionable feedback, and it's guided by people's assessment results. So how do you deploy the feedback feature during moments of change? So you want to use the feedback feature to really create a quick feedback loop, right? So a leader requests really specific feedback, and you use the same question, and so patterns start to emerge because you ask the same question to multiple people, and then the leader can actually respond with specific intervention. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people may not know or may not be using the feature. So if you're a talent leader, if you're a coach, if you're a manager, you should be activating people to use Cloverleaf feedback. Okay. So before you say everybody use feedback, it's important to enable people to use feedback. So these are just some suggestions. You could start if you know change is coming, or if you're experiencing that leaders need to get more feedback on change that's happening. I suggest, it's a suggestion from me, to run like 20 or 30-minute feedback labs. Set up a couple of them. Hey, we're going to help you understand how to use the feedback feature, right? And run some feedback labs, or do a 15-minute weekly office hours for a few weeks so that leaders can come or managers can come to learn how to use the feedback feature. And you're going to teach what I'm about to show you, right? And where you make the request, you receive the feedback, and then you kind of respond by adjusting based upon the feedback that you get. Okay. So when you're going through change, what you want to do, this is how you monitor change, right? We do not effectively, organizations suffer when at a couple of processes. They suffer when onboarding doesn't go right and when managing change doesn't go right. It's the instances where they lose people, they lose employees. When onboarding doesn't go right, people just walk away because they're like, this is not where I want to work, right? When change is mismanaged, people walk away. Okay. So these are processes that organizations really need to get. So when you manage change as it's happening, you empower leaders. If they gather feedback monthly during change, they can focus on what's happening and catch those areas that where the change is not being managed appropriately, and they can mitigate. Okay. So here's what you want to do. Okay. So again, you have to make sure people know how to use it. So if people are not being taught, hey, because features get added, right? So you have to teach people how to use it. Okay. You could use this recording, right? We have entire webinars where we taught people how to use the feedback feature earlier in the year. You can go to our help center, watch that video. So you want to identify, you want to give people the feedback questions, because don't have them reinvent the wheel. I'm giving it to you here. If you're having leaders send feedback questions to the team, here are some options. What's one thing I can do to make priorities clearer this week? Okay, that's one of the monthly cadence questions that could be. So what does that mean? That means if I am going into the feedback feature and I want to send a question this month, I'm going to create a feedback request, and I'm going to request this feedback from myself. And for every person on my team, I may send the same question. So for example, I'm going to say, what's uncertainty is slowing you down that I might not be seeing? I'm going to copy this question right here. Okay. And I am going to send this if I am type of question here. Okay. So I may send this same question 5 times to all 5 direct reports. This may be my monthly check-in. That's maybe this question is what I'm sensing I need to send to everybody. And then I look at all of their answers. And if everybody is saying they're uncertain about the same thing, now I understand what's been tripping people up, right? So that's why the consistency of the question is important. Okay. So once I send this question, what starts to happen, right? I'm not going to send it right now, right? Is that I would get the request, right? Now just imagine that was the question that was up here, right? People would then start to give me the feedback, and it would tell them on the side how I like to receive feedback. So this is what happens on the sidebar. It tells them how I like to receive feedback. And it gives them a checklist to tell them how to hit the mark by giving me feedback. Okay. And then I would gather all those answers up. Right. And now if you're the talent leader, you can then meet back with the leader and say, let's go through all your answers and let's see where there's the breakdown in communication or the breakdown in uncertainty. Okay. And that's the value of that feedback feature, right? So you can empower the leader to collect feedback from the team, from their cross-functional peers. You can empower the leader to then, maybe the leader is managing other leaders. So, hey, if you're managing managers, Empower your managers to get feedback from their own direct reports. If you're the coach or consultant, you can also, get feedback from a stakeholder, right? So these are just some prompts that during specific change are helpful for people to be asking for feedback about. And this is how we monitor what's happening during change so that we know what people need support on, what people need support with. Right. And so again, this sort of tells you how you want to make sure you have to socialize, right? We have access to this feature. Here's how you use it, right? I highly, highly suggest if you know that an organization or team is about to face change, make sure everybody knows how to use this feature. Okay. Especially leaders that may have teams that, struggle with change. This is a great tool for leaders to use, almost like a pulse survey, except it's not a closed-ended question. It's an open-ended question. And by asking that same question of all their team members, they're going to understand exactly what their team needs from them. And they're going to receive it back in a way that the Cloverleaf has coached the feedback giver to give the feedback in a way that the leader can best really digest it. So this can really help a leader get ahead of pitfalls that could happen during a change, and using this feedback feature can be super helpful. So if you're supporting a leader, make sure that they are dynamically using Coaching Focus and Discover, and that they're creatively using feedback on a regular basis, and that they're getting that customized feedback back to them from their team members. Any questions about this feature or about how to use it specifically during change? Any questions at all? Questions at all? Okay, good. Excellent, Tracy. Yes, it really is a powerful feature. And I think putting it in the context of these situations just shows you the different different dynamics where it can be used. Right. So before you can keep asking questions. Before we go, we're going to ask for your feedback. Your feedback shapes all of our learning experiences. So Jason is going to pop the feedback form in the chat. So if you wouldn't mind filling it out for us, it'd be super helpful. Just let us know first your title, your role. Just tell us your role. Then tell us the organization that you work for. Right. And then rate the webinar on a scale of 1 to 10. And then let us know the most valuable takeaway from today's webinar. Okay. And if you had to pick the most important topic that you would want addressed in a future webinar directed toward talent leaders and coaches specifically, what's a topic you might pick? Okay. And then share any additional feedback. Okay. Great. So take a moment to just finish that. I'll give you a moment or two. Okay. Any other questions at all? Any other questions at all? All right. So our next webinar is going to be, it's not going to be role based. It'll be everybody all together. So it's going to be on Thursday, July 9th, at 12 p.m. Eastern. So that's a Thursday. And we will be, if you want to save the date, we will be sending out emails towards the end of this month for that, but you can save the date for that. The topic will be determined, so it comes from your feedback. So please, if you haven't finished filling out that feedback, again, the link is in the chat. It's so helpful to us. We literally, Jason and I meet monthly and we go through all of your feedback from like the past few webinars. And that is how we choose our topics. We really sort through all of that, and really that's how we shape these webinars. So we do not come up with the topics ourselves. So thank you so much for all of your time, all of your attention. Jason, anything you want to share before we?
I'm just echoing the thanks, and if you can fill out that feedback, it definitely helps us shape those webinars. But yeah, thanks for coming out, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right. And yes, thank you. There is Jason is also leading another webinar geared towards managers and individual contributors. It's in our help center. And there's always a tab called upcoming webinars in our help center. So that's
Grab
next
that
Tuesday
link.
at 12 o'clock. Okay.
Put that in the chat if anybody wants to check it out.
Yeah. So there's a registration there in the chat as well. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day and great weekend. And we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.